Happy 4th of July. Wish I could say I'm in a good mood. Yesterday I had a lot of running around to do, and I overdone it in a lot of aspects with sitting and walking. And because I had a really bad night, and I don't feel good because I went to pick up my medication yesterday, and they didn't have half of them. And they didn't have my blood pressure meds. They didn't have the meds for when I go to stop me from going to the bathroom all night. This is a pickup video. Went to Walmart yesterday because Keegan was coming home from camp, and of course my wife started a job, which yesterday she had a real bad day because it seems like she's constantly. My wife was born with one leg shorter than the other, and my wife's had a knee replacement already and a hip replacement. So it's not good for her to constantly getting up and down, up and down, up and down, and she's overweight on top of that, which doesn't help matters. She has a thyroid problem on top of that, and an aneurysm that is inoperable. But yesterday, I had to run and do all the stuff that was done. So I had to go to the camp for 1 o'clock, and I thought I was just picking them up, but I had to stay till 4 because they had skits they were gonna do and all this other stuff. Then after that, I had to run. I went to the dollar store because I was like, it was funny because we were talking about, me and a couple other parents were talking about how inflation, and the guy's like, what bothers him about inflation, he said, was the fact that he doesn't mind paying more for stuff, but then what did on top of that, instead of paying more, they cut the amount in it. Like they'll change, like say it's a box of cereal, and they'll say it'll be 24 ounce. Well, now it's not 24 ounces, it's 22 ounces, and you're paying more for less. And they've done this for years. He goes, it frost them. I said, well, frost me. How you go up to the thing and you buy a 16-ounce bottle of soda, right? And you pay, it's like $2 and some cents. It used to be where it's $1. A buck ain't bad. Well, I told him, I said, I don't even, when the kids start yelling they want some, I'll go down the street and go take them to the dollar store and get them a 16-ounce there, $1.25. Half of what, Walmart and almost all these other stores want for them. Well, I went to the dollar store, and of course they had my wife's iced tea that she likes, which I bought that. I bought whatever they had there or that. But they had nothing that I can drink. So I ended up having to spend the money when I went to CVS for my thing, because I was freaking, just the sweat's coming down on me. Then after I went to the dollar store, I went to CVS, and of course I told you I didn't have my pills. Then after that, I went to Giant. Waited there half an hour. The only thing that made my day yesterday was the lady next to me. It was funny. I'm sitting there jamming, and then when the guy came, he was like, I'll be done about half an hour later. I finally pop up the back, and I forgot, I had the air conditioning on, but I popped the back trunk, the lift. So it's basically all the cold air was going out of my car. But I was jamming the music, and the lady next to me had all her windows down, had her trunk up. And the guy comes and he's like, what's your name? I said, well, I don't know. I said, I'm just here. I'm the pickup man. I said, I have no clue what my wife ordered. I said, it's either under Joe or Kelly. Well, it was under me. So I was like, okay. Then the lady laughed at that because I told her I'm just the pickup man. Then she goes, excuse me, sir. I love the music you're playing. I'm like, thank you. Because let's see, I played Paul Simon. Was it the first thing I remember? I was lying in my bed. Late in the evening. Then Rush Spirit of Radio came on. I'm a big Rush. I like Rush. I forgot what else was on, but I jammed. I couldn't believe how much stuff my wife ordered. It basically, the whole back of my van was filled with groceries and stuff like that. But after Giant, I had to go to Walmart to pick up even more stuff. And I had to run into Giant because there's stuff that we needed after my wife placed the order. Like, there was a bulb burned out in the bathroom. And I was trying to get bubbles for this parade Keegan was supposed to go on today. Keegan started last night. I don't want to go to the parade. I want to go to the parade. After I bought a big thing of bubble, I didn't get no bubble gun though. My wife never ordered it from Amazon like she was supposed to. So, after I get out of Walmart, I actually bought him a fishing rod. Another fishing pole. He loves fishing. Well, he didn't go to the parade today because today in Pennsylvania was free fishing day. So my daughter's taking him fishing. Excuse me. When I went to Walmart, I got this. Star Wars 4-pack of puzzles. Darth Vader, Boba Fett, Chewbacca are 300 piece. And the scene in the Millennium Falcon is a 500 piece. So I got this. Then Keegan, of course, go with the Hot Wheels. So I got new for 2024, this bad boy. Hot Wheels Ultimate T-Rex Transporter. Then I got, which last year it was black, now it's white, West Coast Flyer. Baja Bison TS. I try to get stuff that says Hot Wheels, so. He picked this out. I think I already had it, which I'll find out. Japanese import Mazda MX-5 Miata. It is so hard for me to remember what, because like right now, with not having the medication I'm on, I'm off kilter today. McLaren Solus GT. Yeah, I feel like my head is gonna like. In fact, I just came out of the bedroom. I hardly slept at all last night. Custom 68 Camaro, which that's my favorite year Camaro, but of course I don't particularly care for the color scheme on this or the drag thing on the back, because of course it's a custom. 67 Camaro high wheel art cars. I like the first 3 production years of Camaros. I have Gary Fry to thank for that. God bless him. T-Rex Trover. Nice dinosaur car. I figured Keegan would like it, but no, he didn't like it, so I'm like, okay. Then another new for 2024, birthday burner. It's a big piece of birthday cake on wheels. Then proper chopper, Sky News. Then of course, you know, me, Batman Arkham Knight Batmobile. How many freaking different versions of the Batmobile you need though? 67 Chevy Chevelle SS. Then another new for 2024, Later Crater. And then new for 2024, 1966 Triumph Tiger 100 motorcycle. Now, after I got them looking at the Hot Wheels, I went looking. And lo and behold, they had the superpower vehicles there finally on clearance. So I got the Invisible Jet, even though I don't have the figures to go with this series yet. And I got the Batmobile. I actually picked up both of them what I would have paid for just the Batmobile. So, well, it was a couple dollars more, but still, it was almost what I would have paid for the Batmobile. But I'm like, okay, I can't wait till what I bought on eBay comes in. I know I said about the comic books. Well, I got paid yesterday too. A guy put up one of the original 78, 79 giant size Star Wars figures, Darth Vader. It was complete and it was actually affordable. Normally, if you want to buy a reproduction of his lightsaber, you end up paying $20 just for his lightsaber. And then parts for his cape, and then figure was complete. I think I paid $50 for the figure, so I'm like, okay, good. There was a guy on Facebook. he had Vader, Boba Fett, and Chewbacca. He wanted $800 for the three of them. And my Boba Fett, I have to fix the thing that goes on his helmet, and I need a new missile. That's all it's missing. I have everything else that comes with Boba Fett. That was actually the only 12-inch figure I ever owned from when they first came out. And the sad thing is, I can even tell you how I broke it. My Aunt Nancy and my Uncle Mike had this apartment where they lived. It was like big steps. And I decided I'm going to, whip them down on the string, with the rocket, with the backpack. And when I did, I broke the antenna part. And then eventually, from screwing around with the thing, I ended up losing the missile. Now remember, I was 7, 8 years old when this figure came out. So I wasn't at the point where I was taking care of my toys at that point. I got them coming. So I'm like, yay. And I also bought the one variant I needed to finish volume 2 of it. I think I said that about the Anatomy Girls yesterday, because I'm really messed up today when it's like head-wise. My sale last night went. I didn't even get the stuff pulled yet, because I've been trying to keep up with this house. And of course, today too, one of the reasons I was still upstairs, my stepdaughter calls, started yelling about my other kid. And I'm like, you know what? I can tell you people to do stuff, but the only person you can really control is yourself. You can't control what other people do, really. Even if you're the government. Look at how many, governments are toppled with revolutions because you can't control the people. Well, she's like, I want my son here to spend with him. Well, every other day or holiday, you really don't want to bother with them. Well, I said, I'll call Lexi and I'll see, whatever. Of course, I called. Went right straight to voicemail. I'm like, okay, I did my part. I called. Goodbye. Because my wife told me she would be here last night. So I had to empty out everything out of the van. In fact, in the van, I still have 3 cases of kitty litter 2 cases of soda, 2 cases of water. But I brought everything else in. I mean, she had bags full of juices and stuff. I'm like, milk, orange. I'm like, constantly back and forth. And last night I made tacos. So it's like, and on top of that, they shafted me stuff I needed for tacos. I had to call up Kelly and say, listen, on the way home, stop at Giant, tell them they did not give you, because I saw the packing list, it says I had shredded lettuce. They didn't give me shredded lettuce. So I was like, you have to pick up this stuff so we can have supper. So we ended up having supper at 9 o'clock. Because we didn't have anything to make. But after that, boom, done. But I'm really shot today. Once this video's over with, I think I sold 28 comics, which really ain't going to matter to much money. I got to sit there and calculate and then send the people the invoices. But I want to take this box, put it over there. I'm going to run out to the garage and bring one more box in and then go through that. Because I've been pulling the minor keys out, because eventually at the end, I'm not selling keys for 50 cents, no matter if it's a minor or a major. Because, see, that's what these people want. They don't want, to fill in gaps or gap runs. So I'm like, okay. Well, it seems like there ain't many collectors anymore like me who want full series. It's like, I only want, I want slab books. And, one guy would, I said, I don't care. Here's the thing about it. Like I say, I look on Facebook and I look at some of these people even on eBay. They have a slab comic book. They want $300 for it. Say it's graded 8.5. They want $300 for it. Then you have another person who's got a raw book, basically the same grade, and they're trying to get the slab price. And I'm like, no. And there's a lot of greedy bastards like that. And in fact, it's on Facebook too. Like, there's this one girl. I mean, in fact, the one thing on eBay, I had one on my watch list. There ain't a single book this guy is selling that's less than $9.60. And a lot of them are common books, and it's like another seller will be selling it for $1. He wants $9.60 for it, and I'm like, I just, my mind is like, fathom with these people. Like, I can't even get 50 cents for a lot of the books I was like, for years, and some of them are worth $2 or $3, and it's like, that's why I'm like, I do good when I buy, so I'm like, somehow it like balances out, I think so. But it's just crazy. I was looking on Facebook Marketplace, and this one girl, then she has the nerve enough to actually post the slab copy on it for her raw price of the same price, saying that book's worth this in this condition. And I'm like, but your copy's not slabbed. I would love to get our taxes in, get all the bills paid off and that, and then get the computer score so I can actually do videos where I go, hey, I'm gonna go on check out, I'll somehow I'll take a screenshot, black out the person's name, and just show you somehow some of these yahoos what they're listing stuff for, and it's like, it's asinine. I just sit there and I laugh, and I'm like, they don't sell this stuff because there's guys like, okay, like with the one variant, the 1 in 25 variant for Hanakami Girls #1 Volume 2. Everybody on eBay, $150, $250, $40 and whatever I paid after taxes and stuff. But I always, the way I always thought, if it was a 1 in 10 variant, $10, maybe 20 max, depending if it's popular, right? The 1 in 15 doubled, 30 max if it's. These people now who's got multiples of these books, I would assume they're comic dealers, right? Because I can't see a normal schmo going to the comic book store and getting all these variants for cover price and then selling them later, because any comic book store I ever been in when they started the variant crap would never put variants out. It was always like, they wouldn't never put them out. In fact, the one guy who I used to buy comics off of when I quit going to the shops and just like was buying on eBay bulk lots, he, right before the flood, I went to a shop and he had long boxes and long boxes. Just all it was variants, and the prices he had were ridiculous. And I even said to Sam, I said, Sam, I can't afford buying what books you have anymore. I go, this is ridiculous. I go, $3 cover price, you want 40. And it's all new stuff. And like I said, all new stuff gets bagged, and basically everybody puts it in a bag and board anymore. At least a bag. You might get spine ticks, but bagged and boarding, your book is good. I mean, and some people actually get the rigid hard plastic cases, to put books in. So it all depends on how you store them and supply, take care of them, is how the book stays. But even with these slab books now, I saw a guy, he was complaining about, he's done CGCing because he's watched an overall drop in his price of his collection because all the books he had slabbed, more and more people are getting slabbed with his same grades he's got, which is making, the quantity of that grade more plentiful, so therefore it's driving the price down. So I'm like, there you go. And I'm always like one was saying, like with Beckett, when they had all the baseball card grading, it's all subjective. I don't care what you don't know, it's not there. If you could take your book, and it's funny because sometimes you'll get it off by like a point or two, but still, that has an effect of money. To me, 9.0 to me is near mint. I don't think there ever is out there a Gem Mint 10, period, comic book. Because first off, most of those books are on a conveyor belt. There's going to be roller somehow, get them pressed, whatever. I am in it for, not for money. But it all comes down because in order for me to try to finish the thing, it all comes down to money, though, because all these yahoos are jacking. And then the sad thing is, look at the prices like when the new 52 came out. What the prices, And now look at what you can get. I'd say about 75% of the new 52 stuff. What do you can buy it now for? One third of what you paid for it when it came out, or in some cases 1/5. I mean, you're saving, 40%. Well, actually 1/5 to be 80% off of what the cover was when you bought it, when you came out. And I'm like, and then you get these people. Well, we like to have it. Like, you can still keep the story. I mean, there's so many books out there that are already produced. You don't have to buy new stuff. You really don't. My collection is coming up on 40,000 books, right? And Action Comics, Detective Comics, Avengers, Spider-Man, Amazing Spider, Peter Parker, all the major titles. There are actually thousands and thousands of books for pretty much, like, I have right now Action Comics. I probably have, like, between volume 1, 2, and 3, I probably have 450 books. And that's not even half of what's out there. They're just Action Comics. You have other series, like, and, there's a lot. That's not even part, like volume 1 on, like, Green Lantern for the Golden Age. I have volume 2 complete. I have volume 3 complete. Volume 4 is when they start. I have the variants, and I'm like, I don't have a lot of the variants, and I'm like, I'm in no hurry, because what they want for them, and then, eventually you pick them up. You just time. I don't care if I drop dead tomorrow. What I got is what I got. And hopefully my daughter will keep the stuff. If not, there's a phone call to Heritage Auctions. They, take all my stuff and sell it on consignment there. And that includes all the toys if she don't want them. If she wants, she can liquidate the movies, the video games too. I don't care, because I won't be here. I'll be in a better place. That's the way I look at it. In fact, my ideal heaven is I'll probably be, living next to a comic book warehouse, that, museum type deal, has everything I ever want to look at. And probably like an arcade next to it, and a movie theater, an actual film theater. Because all these people now with the new films, keeps me and my buddy who took film classes in college. The human eye processes a still image a lot, 100 times better than it does a digital image. Because when you're getting that stilled image up on the screen, it's a still, boom. Everything comes at you once. A digital image comes, it's actually lines projected going all the way across, going down. So, there's when people watched movies back before they went digital, your mind, your brain, retains more of the knowledge. So you have a better, remembrance of the film in the long run. I can't tell you a lot of the digital movies, movies I watch came out on Blu-ray, DVD. I have in order, like, for like Lord's of the Rings, I saw that movie like probably at least half a dozen times, or maybe even more. All the Lord's of the Rings. I still can't remember every bloody goddamn thing that goes on in that film. But I can tell you what the original Star Wars was. To this day, a lot of it. I used to, when I was like living in Germany, and all I had was the VHS tape, I burned that thing up. I watched Star Wars so many times when it came out on VHS that I chucked it because it ruined. I demagnetized the goddamn thing. There's always, my favorite movies were like Star Wars, Empire, Return. Return of the Jedi doesn't make my top 10, but Star Wars and Empire do. The movie Excalibur. I like Jaws. It's one of these things that's like, over the years, my most of it really is still back from movies from the 70s and 80s, and a lot of the newer ones, like, yeah, I like the Lord of the Rings, but is it in my top, is it in my, my top 10? It's in my top probably 50. He did a great job. I still love, the Golden Voyage of Sinbad. Stuff like that they're classics. Clash of the Titans. I never understand why people make fun of what came before, like when they did the new Clash of the Titan movies, and they made fun about Bilbo, the the, the mechanical owl. I'm like, do you realize that if it wasn't for that film that came out before, you wouldn't be making this film now, because you would have nothing to stand or even copy. So making fun of it, with the owl and throwing them in the trash, ain't, back then, that was state of the art, stop motion photography. And basically, you're slapping one of the greatest guys who did it, Harryhausen, in the face by doing it too. Because without his special effects, nothing would ever have advanced. That's like, if they never created the wheel, we would never be able to bring stuff around. There'd be no tires down the road, or all that stuff, because everything gets built on what's before, just like the comic books. And not to honor in the past, like with all this stuff, like I'm a big, I can't stand what they're doing with the Green Lantern series, with all the lanterns and all that thing, because first off, it doesn't go by what Green Lantern really was. His thing was, the yellow lantern ring was, built from the remains at the end of the power band. They changed that. Well, they beat that color. They'll do the rainbow. They'll beat it to goddamn death. Oh, we have, red lantern, blue lantern, green lantern, yellow lantern. Oh yeah, we have now a black canary, white canary. Oh, we have a green arrow, a red arrow. We have a blue beetle, a black beetle, a green beetle. Just keep doing the rainbow. And people just keep sucking it in because people are dumb. I mean, all it is to sell more stuff. It's really, because first off, all the power batteries, all the power rings, I don't care what they say, they're all based on, an emotion now. Well, willpower's thought. Basically, it's your will. And your will comes from your brain. Right? It's your thought. Because most people's willpower is, and another thing too, they're making, there's a saw thing on the screen, right? Oh, GL's terrified. Well, terror is fear. A Green Lantern is supposed to be without fear. One of the reasons why they were chosen. Now, I don't like like I said, they made Jessica Cruz and she's got mental problems. Now, will the FBI or the state police let you be a cop if you have mental problems? That's a big no. Why would an intergalactic police force, that's like when they made Green Lantern, lose and become Parallax. I never bought into that. I was like, grief can make you do a lot of things, but I actually think if I was that grieful that I lost everybody, I wouldn't take it out and kill everybody else to try to bring them back, even if I'd just want to join them. I'd probably off myself. That stands more of a reason, I just, and the hypocrisy in the comic book industry, like I said, with that man, whatever her name was, about Phrygian, which her stories killed the boyfriend, which is the exact same thing, except switch the gender roles. The guy's girlfriend gets killed, he's whatever. But oh yeah, we killed the girlfriend. It's the same thing. All because they call it Phrygian because Major Force stuck Kyle Rainer's girlfriend in the fridge. Yeah, that was brutal. But you want to know something? Look at Jeffrey Dahmer. And, John Wayne Gacy. In fact, in my hometown, when I first moved overseas, the neighbor, my brother had a girl that was in her class. She was 10. Her and her brother disappeared. The neighbor killed both of them. And he buried them under their porch. To this day, my brother still thinks of that little girl that was his friend in school. And sometimes I bring it up too because it was horrendous. He was helping with the, there's a lot of bad crap out there. And what, comic books, since, they started doing their own thing and, really doing a lot of times comics would not show real graphic violence or sex. It was all left to your imagination. So that was good. Like now it's all spoon fed to you. They show stuff that you really shouldn't be seeing, and we put it as a teen. Well, how's that going for, when you have stuff for teen, it's on the shelf and a 5-year-old can walk up and look at it? Back when I was a kid, the more adult magazines like Vampirilla, I can remember going to Sharondo's or all the other comic books below. All those comic books were too high for a kid to get. They were always in the back on the top, next to the adult magazines, on basically closer to the register. Now, like I said, big shift in the way society handles everything. Like I said, what is there for a kid now? Really, nothing. It used to be where 20% of everything that was produced was for adults. It was adult-oriented. Most of it was family-friendly kids. It's the opposite way now. I mean, you go to the store. I mean, this back in the day would be like a $10, maybe a $5 vehicle back when I was a kid. Hell, Star Wars figures were $1.99. And we were going for the 3-inch figures, and there it is there. $15. I was like, oh my freaking God. And I said to Keegan, Keegan, when I was a kid, they were $1.99 at Kmart. I remember buying it. I remember I got my teeth done. Some back teeth pulled, and I remember the first 2 Star Wars figures my mom bought me after that. My mouth was swollen. I went to Kmart, went right to the toy department, and I bought R2-D2 and C-3PO. They were my first 2 Star Wars figures I owned. Funny that I bought the droids, and I'm like, those aren't the droids you're looking for. But that was it. And I mean, the sad thing is, long run with these short print figures, you go, like I said, like this, clearance. Some stuff moves, some stuff don't. These short print figures, you look at all the Marvel Legends figures that came out, right? Look at what they were going for 20 years ago, back in the 90s when they came out, right? And look at what they're actually getting from now. Nowhere near. I can buy the Hulk with trench coat or that. Yeah, no, the Hulk with lab coat, the Thing with trench coat, and all those things cheaper now than then. There should be there should be no way that stuff like that should actually be up and down up. Like starting lineups. I'm shocked at picking up starting lineups for $2. Actually, sometimes it's some people are actually selling for less than what they paid for them when they came out. One lady had. Well, I went to Goodwill and I got 3 of them in shell cases, and they were $5 a piece. I got the shell casings for nothing. That's what they were, because when starting lineups came out, they were $4.99 a figure, $5 a figure, and that's what it was. And I guess somebody's home now, so. The one I don't want to talk this here, but. I look at all that stuff, and I know I beat it to a horse when I do my videos, because it plays on my head. I'm like, all that stuff gets put away, boxed up. Like me, I have all the original Turtle figures from Playmates in the first 3 waves. I think I have them all. I think I'm only missing one of the Toy Biz 12-inch Spider-Man, because the one guy goes, why don't you have Mysterio? I'm like, I didn't know they make Mysterio, because he was the short print, so of course, it's hard to get, But now I can pick them up, and I have my 12-inch Spider-Man collection complete. Stuff I bought on clearance at some places, like um, KB had a Toy Liquidators. And I bought a lot of the Action Master Transformers, Optimus Prime. I think I paid $10 for it now. I see him for sale, $400. That makes me feel good, but stuff that was on clearance like that, and then it's $400, and it's not even as not even as common as like look at the Star Wars figures. All the original Star Wars figures from Star Wars, they made for Star Wars, they made for Empire, and they produced them for Return of the Jedi. So those figures those figures should actually be worth less since there was more made. The last Power of the Force wave that had the coins, right? Those last, I think it was the 12 figures. They should be the most expensive ones, right? Actually, the droid / Ewok figures should be the most expensive ones. Then the Power of the Force. Then it should be the Return of the Jedi figures that were only in the Return of the Jedi line, not the ones that were not the Snow Trooper, the Rebel Hoth Trooper, Rebel Hoth Commander. Not the Bespin Security Guard Lobot. Those guys that came out for every movie. As you go back to Star Wars, all the Star Wars figures in their abundance. Now, the stuff that was made special for like JCPenney, Sears, that stuff should be worth something because that was only made for that company and was only out at a limited time. Like, I would love to have. I have the base. I had the paper AT-AT playset. I wish to hell I never played it because that cardboard thing fell apart. And I also found out they had a Bespin cardboard set, and they also had they had the Jawa Sandcrawler cardboard set for the first movie, and then of course they had in Star Wars, they had the Droid Factory. Then when they had, I think it was Droid Factory. I know when they did Return of the Jedi, it was Jabba's Dungeon. It was the same set, different color plastics, but it was Jabba's Dungeon. I don't know if they redid that for the Empire because I'm not really sure because I'm not as meticulous when it comes to my Star Wars stuff. So just, I never knew, too, when I was growing up, that they made Mego pocket figures back in the 70s and 80s. I never knew they made straight legs until I got straight leg Robin and straight leg Superman. Everyone that I ever owned as a child, I had the bent leg Batman and Robin. I had the bent leg Shazam and Superman. I had the bent leg Spider-Man, the bent leg Aquaman, and the bent leg Captain America. I knew they had a Hulk. And I knew they had a Wonder Woman. I never knew they had a Green Goblin. Oh, I think I had the Joker too in the pen. But I see it. Now I have, in my collection now, I have the Joker. He's complete. Penguin, I'm missing his parasol, his umbrella. I have the bent leg Spider-Man. Yeah, which just makes it sort of sad because when I moved here, I lost my bent leg Spider-Man in the move, and I also lost the gun for my Cylon Warrior from the Battlestar Galactica figure I had, and I lost a couple of the small Battlestar, and I lost a couple of the pieces for one of the Scarab and the Stellar Probe. I don't know what happened to them. They were in the garage. When I buy a lot of stuff from the garage here, they disappeared. In fact, I had a baseball card display that my dad made that I was able to put the top load ridged hard things that slots in. I was able to stick them in there to display them. And I also had a display case that I was able to lay them on, and it opened up. For because my dad used to do baseball card shows. We did a couple shows. And the sad thing is, where we always were when they always stuck us in the back. And by the time anybody got to us, they were out of money. So basically what we did was we'd trade. Like if there was stuff we were working on or there was the cards we needed for sets, people would be like, I remember, and I still love my mom. My mom was a softie for kids. I remember the McDonald's. I ended up sending away for the 2 glasses you couldn't get at McDonald's. It was Christian Leitner, and I forgot who Joe Dumars. And I had a bunch of, my mom was giving them to the kids. I was like, Mom, well, I paid for them. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to argue. But Mom, later on, my mom and my dad sat down and says, Georgianne, we know you love kids. We know you love, helping people out. But it comes to a detriment when you're doing a show. It's just like me, helping all my friends with their comic book collections. Like, hey, I sold the first appearance of Apocalypse for $5 to my friend. That's how much I paid for it. I sold to him for $5. At the time, I could have got $50, $40, $50, $60 for it. Same thing with the first, Boba Fett. I sold to him for $5. And even with some of the guys on this community here, back when I did try to do a trade video, the one guy had sitting here for months. I had 2 or 3 long boxes of comics he wanted, and every time it came to trade, he will not give me good stuff. But he got the first appearance of Omega Red, and then he had the nerve to tell me a lot of my stuff was quarter junk that he could have picked up anywhere. And I'm like, no, you couldn't. And I said, and I don't hear nothing from him anymore either. So it's like, here. I never mind helping people out with stuff, but it's just how that is. I'm just waiting for my last glass to finish off the Nutella set. I'll have 2 doubles with that because I bought in a lot of 3. Normally those glasses are $30 a piece. There's 8 glasses for the set. Well, the guy had the Green Lantern glass with 2 others. I forgot who the other 2 were. I just needed a Green Lantern to finish my 8 series off. Well, the 3 it came out to where I think I paid $15 a glass for the thing. So 2 glasses for what I would have paid for 1. I paid $15 more. So even if now I get that glass, I can still sell the other 2 at $15, $20, and basically almost break even to what I paid. What I basically paid for the 3. So I'm hoping down the road I can sell those 2 other ones, because you don't see them that much on eBay. Because it'd be nice, I can actually put that money towards getting the 2 Marvel comic one, the 2 78 Marvel ones, which are overpriced on eBay. I'm hoping one of these days I go to a flea market and the guy has them there for what the price guide I have, at least $60 to $100. I'll buy them then. There's no way I'm gonna. And same thing with the Walter Lance glasses. I'm like, the only one that was worth money in the Walter Lance glass set was Space Mouse, according to my price guide. All the other glasses were around the same price. You go on eBay now, 4 of them are ridiculously priced now, and the Woody Woodpecker and the Chili Willy are like commons. They're like, you can $5-10, and Andy Pandy, Cuddles, Wally Walrus, they were nowhere near the price of the price guide of Space Mouse. And you go and there's like 1 Space Mouse glass, 2 Space Mouse, but then you look and there's like, oh, hey, there's 4 or 5 Andy Pandies, there's 4 or 5, there, there's more of those, and if you wait long enough, like I say with anything, I debated about switching around, pulling that, and buying just another glass set to put in the thing. But I'm like, I don't know, because I might still do that. Pull those 2 sets, because I don't think I'll ever afford getting them, at least not on eBay. Well, you never still, like I just said, I got the friggin' variant for 1/5 of what the nearest guy on eBay wanted it for, which is probably the same thing. But I'm down to needing, for my collection, I'm down to needing 2 books for G.I. Joe. Of course, the G.I. Joe special, McFarlane, the McFarlane one with snake eyes. That, I don't know if I'll get that. And was it 148 or 149? The one with Roadblock and Explosion, jumping out of the plane. That's the last G.I. Joe issue I need for the full run of G.I. Joe. Back number 21, the silent issue. I mean, I proved that, bide your time, you get it for what's affordable. I wasn't paying 100 a quarter, $150. $66, fine. Same condition. And that's not slabbed. I mean, the slab copies, they wanted $200-$300. Some people wanted $400-$500. But I see it all the time too with games. It's on every type of collectible. You'll have the guys that find it dirt cheap, and they're not happy with making 20-30% profit. If they spend $10, they're not happy selling it for $13. They want to make 300 to 500% profit. So if they buy it for $10, they want to sell it for $50-$60. If you ever took business classes in college, right? They always, look at your investment and what you want to make in order to stay in business. Nothing that stays there and sits makes you money. These people, I don't care if they went and bought the book, like say that. Let's just say it's the $400 GI Joe book, slabbed. They might have paid total, even getting it graded. They might have paid $100. $150. A $50 profit in the long run is better than sitting on it for years. I mean, it'll go up. You don't know it'll go up. You won't. You don't. There's some guys on the YouTube community, YouTube the comics, that actually monitor the ups and downs of the slabbed market. In fact, there's one guy, he charts them where he shows you what they were, say, 2 years ago to now. And I watched one of his videos and I was like, thank God I don't buy slab books. I'm happy with because you don't read them. I'm like, I get tired of people saying you don't. Let's see you read the amount of books I have and see if you can keep up with it and try to collect, play video games, take care of your family, take care of yourself, and see if you can keep up. I mean, when I was in school and I lived at home and didn't have my own family, didn't have a job, I was a reading maniac. That's all I would do. And you could ask if you say somebody like in my area that when I went to high school in Old Forge, and you talk to some of the kids, the girls in my business. Listen to Joyce is sitting in the back, done with his book. I'd bring comic books to school and I'd be reading books. I'd come home. If I wasn't working, I'd be up in my attic reading books, putting them away. I did read from everything I bought back then. For a good 2-3 years I read. It's just that when I started, hanging out with my buddies playing sports and, trying to get a girl, going with my girlfriend, and it's just like, you don't have the time. It's like time management's hard. And I try to make time now, but I'm like, it's like trying to keep up with this stuff is like, I'm trying to, with my back, I'm trying to get stuff done around here, and it's like, I gotta wait for my dad to help me, and it's like, I just look at what I did yesterday, just the running around for shopping and how I was shot and I couldn't sleep last night. And how my head feels today. It's like, I'm just hoping when I, faxed in my, my medications online to Geisinger and said, I need these medications resubmitted, that they did it for me. I'll get them tomorrow. Because I don't want to go through another night like I did last night tonight. And my wife, because even my poor wife, my wife applied for a job. And this is what they did to me when Corning opened the plant north of Scranton. I left my job at WIA Manufacturing because they told me I was losing my supervisor position because they only needed one dock coordinator months down the road because the guy on day shift decided he was going to, screw me over. So I was like, whatever. So he was scheduling stuff to come to get shipped out sooner, and it didn't even mean working 12 to 8. And plus, I pissed off a lot of the supervisors because when I ended up leaving to go to Corning, which Corning told me they had a shipping dock they were using me on, and then I went there, and they were filling in slots. I mean, there was a guy who left his accounting job, who was told that they were going to use him in the office for an accounting, and because they had minority numbers, the poor guy was working next to me building modules, running what was it? I don't even know what they call it, because I ran the winding machine in the DCM department, and he would be in the thing where they used to have to glue the pigtails on. And this was a guy, and I was never happy. And to tell you the truth, as far as I'm concerned, Corning, I don't want to give the job, because 1 year and a month after I was hired and the plant opened, the plant was closed. And all these people who left their jobs like me, because I thought I'd have a future with them. I thought I'd retire with them. It didn't happen. And the state, it's one of these bad things because the state ended up giving them money for their plant. They had to repay the state money. And on top of that, all of us who basically were like left high and dry, I was going for a liberal art degree when I worked at WIA because I found out the girl who did my job out in Simi Valley made 3 times more. Actually, she made over 60 grand a year, and I was hourly, and she was salary, right? And she did the same job I did, except she didn't load the trucks. I called the companies, I scheduled the freight, I'd write up the bill of ladings, and then on top of it, I'd jump in the forklift, and I'd load trucks. My time there, and the sad thing is I worked 12 to 8 o'clock, so my working that out thing, back then, stuff wasn't open like 20, it was starting to get open 24 hours like Walmart. But a lot of stores were open till 8, 9 o'clock. So basically, if I didn't get up in the morning and get out when they opened up at 10 o'clock or 11, because I had to be at work for 12, I didn't get nothing. Everything would have to be weighed on the weekends. But, it was, it was shot. Now, my wife, this is my poor wife. My wife went for a job. She finally got a job, and they told her when she went for the interview, it was taking care of handicapped people. Exactly what I did when I blew my back out. The second time, the first time I was a corrections officer, because after I lost my job at Corning, I ended up going to school, and of course, the state would not let me go to school for a liberal art degree. They were like, "We want you to go for business administration." So I had to finish a business administration degree, a 2-year and associate's degree within 1 year. And I'll never forget that because I was not in a mental state, because within that 1 year, my girlfriend at the time, not my wife, the girlfriend before her, Michelle, who now lives in New Mexico, she lied about being pregnant, took it 9 months. We had a baby shower for her. She actually blew up. I mean, she had a belly and everything. I trusted her because I was working 12 to 8, working at WIA, and going to school part-time in the morning at a Penn State radial campus, going for a liberal art degree. She worked as a phlebotomist at CMC, which I found out after a while when she was using my charge cards to buy stuff, and when there was no money coming in from her, I said, I'm going up there. Found out she lost her job. And then when she did that, I threw up over the banister because I was like, my nerves were shot. Well, after there was no baby, and I was thinking that I'd have to bury a body. Well, she actually had the nerve enough to ask me for money to move to Virginia. And that was the only time I ever put my hand on her. Even after all the crap, I would always get sick, my blood pressure, never laid a hand on her. Would just like, I would sit there and I would basically dictate, like how I'm right now, like I would babble, I'll be like, listen, this doesn't make sense of what you're doing. Like I would say, like how I would talk like that. I never hit her. Lo and behold, she went and used my Sears chart. I bought a computer, and she was by that time she was living with her sister. Now, her sister, Kelly, this is the different Kelly. This is Kelly. She called me. I called her up the one day and said, "Listen, your sister asked me for $400 to move in with this, because I asked her, I said, does she see anybody? Because she kept like stringing me along. I want her to go to therapy, because I actually got a therapist for us to see if she can, work through whatever the hell happened, because I was a basket case. No, she actually, after she gave me the thing about $400 to go with this guy, her sister let me in the house. I took the computer that was bought on my charge card, and I found out she was talking to 3 women and the guy she was leaving me with for. Sent him a message about everything that happened in the last 5 years of dating her. And he told me I was just a jealous boyfriend and I beat her and I cheated on her. I'm like, how can I cheat on her? I would pick her up from work as soon as I get her. She would work at 10 o'clock. I worked 8. I had like an hour and a half gap there to go, how am I going to cheat on her when I was just like, whatever. She lied to me for years. She didn't want to go to therapy, whatever. She basically left owing your sister money. And I was still working. This is my time. I left WIA because I thought I was going to be a father. That's why that's one of the main reasons why I went to Corning. And then a year and a half later, Corning was gone. She left me with buku bills, and the top of that, she had a car payment that I found out that the guy told me, and my bank said I can't put the loan through if the car's not in your name. So I thought the car was put in my name. It wasn't. It was in hers. So they went to repo it, and I was like, and at that time I had my own car loan too. She didn't think I'd take the hit on my credit. I'm like, you know what, Michelle? I said, right about now, I don't care what happens to me. Because when she did tell me that she was leaving me for this other guy, that was the darkest place I've ever been. In fact, I already I basically was a basket case at Corning. And then and it was funny because the one guy, Rich, who I worked with, we heard scuttlebutt. He heard scuttlebutt that Corning was, thinking about closing facilities. He's like, and then he worked for dock shipping yards in Jersey. And, me growing up with the military, I've seen, the military close bases like that. When I lived overseas, out of the 4 bases that were all by me, Robinson Barracks is gone, Kelly Barracks is gone, Nelligan Barracks is gone, and Patch UCOM headquarters is still there, but there's no Patch American High School anymore. I went to Nelligan Elementary School, I went to Robinson Barracks Junior High School. None of them exist. Those barracks are gone. I saw Flash Gordon at the Robinson Barracks Exchange. I saw friggin' Return of the Jedi at the Kelly Barracks. I saw Excalibur, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, The Empire Strikes Back at the Nelligan Theater. I met Gene Roddenberry at the Nelligan Theater. He actually got in his car after signing everybody's autographs for my friggin' eraser-made pen. He put it in his pocket and he jumped in his Mercedes limo. I actually chased him down the block because, 1, I let him use my pen, and 2, he never gave me an autograph. And the sad thing is, he got a Post-it note and he wrote on it, and he wrote it something, I still have it. And when he says, I'm going to show it to you, I have Gene Roddenberry's autograph, and I had to run for it. And to get it, and to get my pen back, because I used to have a razor made for school. But that was the lowest point I could say in my life, was that. Because when Corning closed, the state forced me to go for, and I was not in a good mental state back then. And it's, I talked to this guy who I buy the comic book. I understand what he's going through, because I was there. And it's you don't ever let yourself get like that. But the first semester back, I got 2 B's, 2 C's, 2 D's. I was not ready. I was not mentally capable of dealing with everything in my life that happened in that 3-year span. Second semester was now spring, because I went to the fall, because I lost the thing. Corning let me go in August. I ended up going the fall right to start doing this degree, which I didn't want to go for a business administration degree, but the state gave me no choice. They were paying for it, and I had to finish it within 1 year. So I went to the Penn State Dunmore campus, I had a list of courses that my advisor gave me I had to take. So first semester, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 classes. Second semester, 6 classes. Here's the fun part. First semester, I told you, 2 B's, 2 C's, 2 D's. Spring, 2 B's, 2 C's, 2 D's. Summer, I had to take 6 classes over the summer in order to finish it by that following August. I had all the classes marked, and I'll never forget it. I go to my economics class, and the teacher's name was Brovman. This old guy. I mean, this really old guy. And he's in the class saying, hey, how many kids are, taking one class this summer? And almost all the class raises their hand. And 2, a couple kids, 3. Now he's starting to look at me, and I'm in the back, and I'm freaking like a nervous freaking wreck. Because by this time now, my life is starting to get, semi okay. 4. My God, man, how many classes are you taking? 6. What? Listen, I'll tell you after class why I have to do this. After class, I was telling him everything, and he's like, oh my God. He goes, how can, I said, listen, how am I still here? I said, I asked myself that too, because I tried offing myself a year prior. You can't let anybody get you to that state. I don't like I said, I don't like a lot of stuff that goes on, but I can't control it. I can't control what they did to my favorite superhero. I can't control what they're doing, what they did to the Star Wars franchise. Just like you can't control what happens to you really when you walk out the door of your own house. You have no control over the nature. You have no control over what other people do. That rationale has helped me quite a lot because it's the truth. And in a lot of aspects, when I look at it, a lot of stuff I would like to sit down and cry. But I really, like I tried helping. Like my daughter, keeps saying she wants to off herself. Like Lex, I go, why? You let what people do to you really bother you. Laugh at it. You can't let it get to you anymore. You can't, period. Listen, when people went after me, I just copied and pasted and shown it to the world. Because you know why? I know what I did. And if, back then, I really couldn't sit for a long period. I actually sit longer now, ever since the guy gave me the laminectomy and took the rods out of my back. That was my last operation. I still have pain radiating down my legs every once in a while. My legs, in fact, it was only my right leg for the longest time and my right bottom. But now it's either or it could be both. Because there's sometimes, like the one time we went to Sam's Club and both my legs went numb. And I showed it to my wife. I said, look at this. I'm like, boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, I feel nothing. I got home. My leg was black and blue. Didn't hurt because you know why? I felt nothing. And I had a pain support group, and it's funny because she told me I should keep doing these videos, and I said, well, maybe I'll expand on some of this stuff. That's one of those reasons why I'm like sharing this stuff with you now. I still see the one therapist for the pain group, because depending on what I do, everything what I do is how it affects my pain, and you can't, like I said, I can't control what another person. The person sees me, they don't know what's going on in my body. I can go like this and say, look, I had cancer, there's the scar from, skin cancer. You can see the scar there, but you don't know if that scar, pain. Well, I had no pain with the skin cancer, but you look at my back, I have a long line about this big going down my back, and it's actually, they cut through that thing 3 or 4 times. And I have so much scar tissue. In fact, I call it the alien, because when I'm like laying down, I do a sit up, I have a bulge that pops through. And I've been after my doctor. Like I said, I did what I could do. I said to the doc, this worries me. Oh, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. Now, one of my friends told me that somehow, if you keep that keeps going, it can wrap around and you can have major medical problems in the future. Ask the doctors that. No. I'm like, so, I just breathe. One of the shows that I used to love to watch was a show called Life with Damian Lewis. He was wrongfully accused and served jail. He was a cop. And he came back on, he had this Zen, he goes, when I breathe in, that's when you breathe out. He goes, we're connected. And technically, every one of us is connected. I go, if you actually buy, the Quran, the Bible, it goes all the way back to Adam and Eve. We're all technically related. If you that's the way it is. The only thing that changed is history. When you cut any of us, no matter what our skin color is, we all bleed red. We all have the same amount of organs, except male and female, different parts. We're all human. And to err is human. The thing is, the one thing about error, you learn from your mistakes. This whole stuff about erasing history and all these Confederate stuff and saying that the Holocaust doesn't exist, you're not helping yourself. Those who do not learn from the past are doomed to repeat it. And these are all tried and true sayings. Like I tell my daughter, and I try to tell my stepdaughter, which she'll be 31, and she's still the way she is now as she was when I first met her at 9 years old. In fact, more so worse. My daughter, it's like, I guess, you have to let your kids live there, let them learn their own mistakes. Sometimes, see, growing up, I learned from a lot of my family members. I saw what they did. They told me what they did wrong, and they said, Joey, don't do that. Like, in all my family, everybody, I didn't know anybody who got divorced in my family, right? It's just one of those things. It's like when we had the baby shower and all that crap happened to me. Basically, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, basically that whole situation fractured my family with all my cousins, my and that. And it never recovered. Because, when I do see him, I never found out what really happened. And, it does bother me on that respect, because I had a very close family. Now, my mom died, and my mom was one of the glues. Like, when growing up in my town, Old Forge, I was always over my Aunt Veronica and my Uncle George's house until we moved to Germany. And I didn't want to go. I'll be, frank, I did not want to go. But when you're 10, soon to be 11, because we moved in May of 81, and I turned 11 in June of 81. And I didn't want to go because I had all my friends. And we moved. And it was culture shock, because I was, even the way you flushed the toilet over there was something new. The bed was hard as a rock. And they had these big, thick, feather thicks. The big, you put it on, you'd be sweating. It was just, culture shock. And on top of that, we did not get a base, housing on base. We lived on the economy. We lived on the German economy. And I lived on a place called 136 Musenreichstrasse, Esslingen-Zollberg. And to the outside of my door, when you walked to the front of the house and walked out the door, it was like a bunch of row houses. I had Herr Gross, which is, if you translate that, Mr. Big. Mr. Big lived on the right-hand side of us, and his wife and his mother-in-law, Frau Bai. Now, next to me on this side was Frau Wildemuth. Now, we never got along with her. It's just that nobody got along with her in the complex. And then next to them, I don't even remember that older family. They were real nice. They had a nice cherry tree. They loved my brother. Now, I didn't go to German school. I went to an American school. I would have to get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and catch a bus. The one in Nelligan, it wasn't that bad. It was like not even a 20-minute drive up the road when I was in Nelligan. But when I had to go to Robinson Barracks and Patch, it was basically an hour drive through traffic. And the diversity of military schools helped me a lot. Because growing up in Old Forge, basically everybody was Italian, Russian, Irish. That's it. Maybe Ukrainian or whatever, a Polish person. That basically was, you're all basically white. In fact, before I left, there was one black family that moved in, and it was nowhere near me, but their son went to school, and I felt bad for him because they were terrible to him. When my 5 years were up, and my dad had a choice, go back to the Toban Army Depot, and we can move back to Old Forge, or you could take it a post. See, that's the one thing I appreciate the military for. And nobody, a lot of people don't realize that military families give up a lot. One, your spouse, your husband, your father is deployed. Chance he might never come back. Two, every 3 to 5 years, you have to get up and move. And our move from Germany back to Old Forge, my Atari 2600 disappeared. A bunch of my games, my micro X-Wing fighter, TIE fighter, some of my Star Wars stuff disappeared. My mom had a 13-foot oak wall unit called a Shrunk. It was beautiful. It had a built-in bar, it had built-in, cabinets, lights. And it was beautiful. I have a picture of it when it was sitting. It actually took up the whole one wall in our living room in Germany. It came back. Half of it was missing. The bottom 13-foot oak piece was broken in half. The movers who moved us, packed us up in Germany, they were Turkish guys. And I'm sure they stole stuff for their kids as they were packing it up. Because when everything got packed up, it was put in big wooden crates, and then it was moved to a shipping port. When we came back, we lived with my cousin Sonny, because my Aunt Veronica and Uncle George died the months after we moved to Germany. 81 was a bad year. Both my aunt and uncle died within weeks of each other. And they were like my grandparents. My brother's friend, the girl that I talked to me the story about, she was murdering her brother. 81 too was the year that they killed Saddam, Anwar Sadat. Because we were supposed to go, my dad, since we lived overseas, my dad wanted to make the best of our time there. So we did a lot of traveling. So that year is when they killed Sadat and basically scrapped us going to Egypt. We never made it there. Instead, we went to Paris. And like I always say in my videos, you can have Paris. I was there 3 times on 3 different trips. Once with my family, I think twice with 2 different schools. And Paris, they treated us terrible at Paris, at least me, every time I was there, and my family. Normandy, Verdun, Strasbourg, France, great places to go. St. Mary Glees, Salzburg, Austria, Omer Ammergau, Berchtesgaden, Frankfurt, Heidelberg, Baden-Baden, Berlin. When I lived over there, it was 81 to 86. It was East and West Germany. The communists owned half. The Allied forces owned half. When we went to Berlin, we had to drive the corridor. We had the option to fly, but my dad and our friend, my aunt's brother, he was stationed. I forget where he was stationed. Eli. He was a chaplain in the army, he was stationed, so he came with us to Berlin. And we decided to drive the quarter. Now, my dad, we had a BMW 730. That quarter, they only allow you so much time from one checkpoint to another to another. Right through. Berlin, East Germany, West Germany, that was the corridor to Berlin. Now, Berlin was basically small little, that's why you had the Berlin airlift. Checkpoint Charlie. We actually went to visit East Berlin. And when I lived overseas, my last year, I had to go to Russia with my ROTC class at Patch High School. Me, my mom went. Some of the guys on my rifle team, a lot of the guys that were in my ROTC class, we all went. My dad did not want to go because my dad was worried about a security clearance. East Germany, East Berlin, Russia, it was like going back in time. Dreary. It was like stepping out of the 1980s and going back to a dreary 1950s. Not, the happy ones you see, Leave It to Beaver and all that. Like black and white time deals, like dreary. Old cars, not newer cars, old cars. When we went to Moscow, everybody there worked at the time. It was like, that's what they did at a communist thing. There were kids sitting there with machine guns at monuments. It made me value America, but a lot of the people take these freedoms that we have for granted. Like when I moved back to, I was a communist and a Nazi. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm the same kid who left 5 years ago. I still collect Star Wars figures. If it wasn't for this one kid that I was friends with before, Joel, I would have never got into comic books because I had some. I used to go to the thrift shop and get a bunch of books for 10 cents each. The Stars and Stripes post, I bought the first appearance of the Omega Men there in the Green Lantern issue for, I think it was, the cover price was 50 cents. Books back then, a kid can go. We were just talking about this on the boy. When I was a child, I still remember the milkman delivery. I remember my doctor coming making house calls. Now he stopped that when I was 7, but are things actually better now or is it worse? It's hard to say. Part of me. This COVID thing basically knocked us back, I think, a good 2 decades because nothing's open 24 hours anymore, really. Everything closes up. People don't really want to work. People don't want to, bother with most people. We have all this technology, like this video. I'm sitting here telling you guys stuff. 30 years ago, 20, the late 90s, 2000, there was no, internet like this. All this communication, and we are further and further. People don't even know how to talk to each other. They throw insults around like candy. I try not to. I just get upset to how I see stuff that I cherished as a child, and knowing that other kids now can't cherish the same thing growing up. The fact that their mother can give them a quarter, or their aunt, or my Aunt Veronica. Joey, here's a buck and a half. Go to Gertz and get me a 2-liter bottle of RC Cola and buy yourself penny candy with the change. You can't even get a 2-liter bottle of soda and penny candy now for a buck and a half. You might be able to get a 2-liter bottle of soda, but it's not RC, Coke, or Pepsi. And there is no more penny candy. You're lucky if a quarter. You used to be able to buy a full candy bar for a quarter. Then they went to 50 cents. Now it's like, Matchbox cars were the cheap thing. At one point, Legos were one of the cheapest toys out there to buy. Then all of a sudden, it's a byproduct of oil. Well, it's a byproduct, but it was actually the waste of how they made oil and kerosene. That's how plastic was. And technically, most plastic is actually, they can sit there and they can make it up in a chem lab. Certain plastics. To me, it's just another way to charge you more for something that costs them probably much the same. When I worked at the record manufacturing, what they sold, a completed CD to the things, and what you end up paying for it was like freaking ridiculous price difference. Working there, I would have a perk. I'm not going to get in trouble with WIA by telling you what I paid for my CDs and how much it cost, we sold to certain manufacturers for after how much they made it. Because it's like, but you can see the my precious, I want that money. I need that gold. But that's all it comes down to. These corporations, how much money is enough. All these hospitals. How much. It used to be too when you went to the hospital. You went in there and you had a problem. Their motto was first do no harm and always err on the side of caution. So you would go in, and they couldn't figure out. You had more and more tests. Now it's like no, you can't run those tests. Too costly. No. Now, I know that firsthand because my mom died because of a doctor. And my cousin, I watched her right before my mom went in for my mom's surgery, and I lost my mom. My cousin Ed was having palpitations. One day her heart be racing, and it'd be barely beating. So my mom told me, take her to the emergency room. And I went there, and the doctor was going to discharge her. And I said, I am not taking her home. I said, I am not a doctor, but I know this woman needs something. Not just, it's telling her there's nothing wrong with her. I said, I want you to call a cardiologist. And lo and behold, they did. Because I refused to leave the emergency room. And later that night, they put a pacemaker in her. And she lived a lot more longer. And I'm glad that happened. My mom needed a hysterectomy. She had cancer cells. The same thing my wife went through, and I was a nurse when my wife had it. But my wife's cancer-free. The hysterectomy took care of all that, thank God. My mom, though, the doctors up in Scranton said, no, we want you to go down to Allentown to have this doctor work on you. So we went down, and I went with my mom. Now I was just dating my wife now. Everything happened with the ex. I was finally, getting myself straightened out with everything. I already blew my back out at the jail, and I lost my job at the jail because I actually blew my back out of jail, and I just thought I pulled a muscle, and the pain just kept bothering me for months. And I learned a valuable lesson. No matter what happens, if there's a twinge, report it, because they raped me over the coals. I always thought, I'm doing them nope. And the sad thing is, when I ended up getting the job down here working with the handicapped people at the state hospital, I told them about my back problem. And they said, oh, no problem. If you do everything right, you'll be fine. I'm like, okay. Like I said, you can only control yourself. I was doing a transfer from a man from his bed to his wheelchair, doing everything right. I cannot control what that man did. He decided he was going to go. Ugh! Now, policy is if you drop them, it's automatic termination. So as I released and I grabbed him and I leaned forward, and the exact same sensation I felt at the jail, I felt go right up my spine and into my legs. So I knew I did my back in again. My supervisor gave me a lot of grief. I said, listen, I know this feeling because I've already experienced it. I got him in this thing. I tried giving another one of the guys I took care of, Jeffy, a shower, and I was crying. And Jeffy was normally a nice, pleasant man. And he was actually worried about me instead of me being worried about him. And I said to Jeffy, I said, I'm going to get done with you and I'm done. And after I got done giving him a shower and put him to bed, I left and I went to the hospital. And with workman's comp, you go get an x-ray. Well, an x-ray ain't going to show your spine if you blew disc. And then go, my supervisor, how can you, the triple trasher's name was Ronnie. Ronnie only weighs 75 pounds. I said, well, it's funny because I ended up going to see their workman's comp doctor. And the workman's comp doctor said, Joe, you can blow your back just bending over and picking up a piece of paper. He sent me for an MRI. And now when I originally did the damage at the jail, I had 3 bulging discs. This MRI showed I had 4. Now, I had a lemondectomy the time done by Dr. Lavick up in Scranton. Here, I ended up having to see Dr. Shablowski. I went, he says, you have to go see Sun Orthopedic. So I saw Sun Orthopedic 4 times. And the more I sat, the more I walked, the more I, did certain, I had pain going into my foot. And it was at the point where I wanted to rip my leg off. Now, lo and behold, first time I went to Sun, I had the doctor's assistant. He told me my back was bad. He said, try physical therapy. Come back in a month. I was out of work, came back in a month. Now, I was driving. I had my wife. Thank God my wife was driving me back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. There's no way I could handle this driving most of the time. Because when I would do it, I was shot. Well, did physical therapy, and the physical therapy was not helping me. I had injections, epidurals. They did not. Actually, the one of them didn't even last an hour. That's just how bad it was. Go back a month later and see this. Now I see this orthopedic Dr. Lynn. Oh, there's nothing wrong with you. You're putting it back full duty. As soon as I got with him, I called up Dr. Chaplowski's office. I said, Doc, this guy didn't even bother talking to me. He just walked in the room and said, boom, 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 and went out the door. I said, why is his assistant telling me my back's a freaking mess and he's telling me my back's fine? And I go, he didn't even look at my MRI results with me. He said, Joe, I'm vetoing him. You're not going back to work full duty. You can't lift. So I'm like, okay. I tried going back and they had me like just wheelchairing people. And it was like the Bataan Death March. The longer by the end of like the first day, I was shot. I ended up calling Chablowski's office, seeing him the next day, and he's like, "No, you're out of work." He goes, "You can't do it." I said, "I'm having pain in my legs." I go back to Sun Orthopedic, and homeboy, I get a different physician's assistant, and he goes, "Yeah, you can't work." So now, 3 months have passed. My 90 days. I gotta keep switching positions. Wow. 90 days pass. And I finally go. And I see Dr. Lynn again after another 30 days. And as soon as he walks in, now my wife is with me and my daughter. And my daughter's a baby, basically. And right in front of my wife, we're telling him, I go, I can't go anywhere. I have no life. I said, I can't go shopping with my wife. I can't, I'm having a hard time, riding a lawnmower to cut the grass, ride on. I said, I can't use a push mower. I can't use a weed whacker. I can't, bend over. I can't, reach my hands above my head most of, I'm going to send you back. I said, you know what? I go, I cursed at him. I said, you know what? I go, you're a quack. I sit there going, I said, I don't understand how you keep telling me there's nothing wrong with my back. I said, and according to my MRI, I have 4 bulging discs that's pressing on nerves. I said, your 2 physician assistants who I talked to on two separate occasions told me that my back's a freaking mess. I need to get operated on. Go back to Chablowski, was my workman's comp doctor, the original one. I get I said, I don't want to go to this orthopedics. The guy who did my wife's hip. Now, I went to an orthopedic, and after I had my back fused, I was told I should never went to an orthopedist. I should have went to a neurosurgeon, because what I have is considered failed back syndrome. And on top of that, I have degenerating disc disease. Now, an orthopedic basically will only fuse you. And if you're having those pains radiating, most of the time, you should go see a neurologist. Well, I saw a neurologist and I tried the spinal implant. Also, too, in the meantime, Workman's Comp started they're giving me all kinds of grief. I went down to Philadelphia. Well, I should say my dad drove me down to Philadelphia. That's just how bad it was. And I went down to the Rothman Institute to take care of a lot of sports medicine for the Philadelphia Flyers and Eagles. And I saw Dr. Anderson. He told me, he goes, you'll be in pain the rest of your life. There's nothing I can do for you. Now, this is a prestigious doctor who told me that. And Workman's Comp keeps sending me to their quack doctors, guys who don't even have practice anymore. All they are open to down your Workman's Comp case. Now, by this time, too, I was 210 pounds when I first hurt my back there. I chunked up to 300 and some because I could not move. I was basically laying on the couch. I could barely walk from the couch to my bedroom. That's how bad it was. Now, my mom, she'd come down and she always worried about me. Well, they picked me up on the way to where my mom was going down to Allentown. And that night, I slept in a single bed, and my mom and my dad had a different bedroom in the hotel we stayed at down there. Had a nightmare. Now my mom, people always said my mom was part witch, because my mom would always have premonitions, and because at the one time when we were going to Greece, my Uncle Bill had cancer, and my mom turned to my father on the plane going there, and she said to my dad, Bill died. And lo and behold, my Uncle Bill did die that day. And when I was in my car accident in 1987, my mom knew. My mom woke up from sleeping and knew I was in a car accident. And the phone rang, and my mom said, that's about Joey. So that night I had a dream that my mom died. And I did not want my mom getting that hysterectomy. No, I'll be fine. And I even voiced this in front of the doctor. I said, I would rather have my mom wait. My mom ended up having the operation. We went home. They dropped me off. They went home. 10 days after that, it was funny because it happened the Steeler playoff game when then they went to the Super Bowl. My mom loved Jerome Bettis more than, because my mom suffered from asthma, and Jerome Bettis was, asthma. And my mom, I always respected Jerome because Jerome loved his mom. And I loved, that was my mom's favorite football player, period. I talked to her that Saturday, and I told her I'll call her when the game's over with. And she said, well, hopefully he'll go to the Super Bowl. And I'm like, yeah. Find out after the game was over with. I called. My dad picked up, not my mom. My dad took my mom to the hospital, and she was in the ICU. My dad, the doctor at the ICU, didn't want to do no test, didn't want to do anything. My mom was having massive stomach pains. So, what happened, I guess, when they had the hysterectomy, the guy nicked her colon. But the emergency room doctor dropped the ball. And my mom ended up going septic. It ended up basically it was 10 days after her surgery when she had the hysterectomy until she was admitted. 10 days after that, January 31st, at 8:45, it was 8:45 p.m. is when my mom passed. And that, to this day, I'm still not. Because everything I got, I would not have if it wasn't for that woman. That's one of the reasons why I think I can overcompensate, because my mom died 18 days before my daughter was born. And that's one of the main reasons I drove her to get the hysterectomy. Because she wanted to be there to watch her grandkid grow up. Now, my mom is dead now, 18 years, coming up on 19. We sued the doctor, we sued the thing, and for what I got out of this, I'd rather have my mom back. Because by the time specialists took, well, I'm going to tell you the story when my dad was shopping around for a lawyer. He went in Scranton, nobody wanted to touch the case. My mom was a housewife. She never really worked. She was a part-time beautician. She only basically did family members' hair. And one lawyer told my dad that my mom wasn't worth much. My dad almost killed him. And this is a lawyer who represented me in my car accident. Now, and it's sad because I have his partners as my lawyers in my workman's comp case, and I love them. I do. My dad had to get a lawyer from the Philadelphia area in order to fight this fight. And 5 years later, we won. But by the time everybody took their cut, I bought my house with it. I bought this house. Well, actually, how much I got didn't actually pay for this. My dad had to give me some of his money that he got out of the 1/3 share, because I paid $120,000 for this house, and my dad had to give me something like another $20,000 for, like, because I only got $110,000. Just the two specialists alone took over $250,000. I'd rather have her back, because on the holidays, like the Christmas before my mom died, that December, I went up there. Kelly drove me, dropped me off, and I stayed with my mom in my old bedroom. And she baked cookies. And it seemed like every year the batches would get more. It'd be, instead of making like 5 batches of Nestle's Tall House with nuts, or was it 3? It was 5. We ended up making something like 86 batches of cookies. It was like freaking ridiculous. And she made, I don't know how many fruitcake. I know she made like almost 40 cherry nut loaves. That's what she would, and then she'd go over to my cousin Evelyn's house, drop off fruitcake, nut roll, and a tray of cookies. That's another thing that my mom used to do on the holidays up when we lived in Germany. My mom would never, ever, ever just give one, post. If she had to give, the gate A to get into Nelligan, she'd have to drive all the way around, drive through the barracks, and give him the gate B, because she didn't think it was fair. I don't know if any guard would ever remember that, but it'd be nice. But that's how my mom was. When I worked at WEAS, before it was special, my mom would send me in with plates of cookies for everybody I worked with to have the thing. They used to make fun of me. I'm like, listen, makes my mom happy. But yeah, I gained 300 some pounds. I'm still not nowhere. I'm still like 30. I actually was, the lowest I got, I was down to 220. I'm still up to 240. Just at the back. Like today, I got to move this box. I'm not even in the mood to move it. And I've already been, this video is already an hour and a half long, but you get to know things that happen and why I am. Like I said, you can only control you. My dad could not control that doctor at the emergency, like I couldn't control that doctor at the emergency when I took my cousin Evelyn. Just like, I can't control the markets with toys and stop being kids anymore. I mean, baseball cards, comic books, candy. When's the last G-rated movie that came out? I mean, even our cartoons anymore that we watch on TV are far from kid friendly. I mean, we have Adult Swim now. It's like, and I get it. Kids did not grow up. Their bodies might have matured into men, but a lot of people, as far as I'm concerned, are just as bad as kids. I mean, to deny the next generation what we had is wrong. But I can't do nothing about it. You know, I was around for the bicentennial. I don't think I'll be around for the tricentennial. And I don't think I really want to be anymore. I don't like the way I see everything going. But, like I said, I can't do nothing about it. I will try to do what's good for me, which I hope, you know, is good. I will try to be there for, you know, I had my stepdaughter back here. She does, you know, she's still drug-free. No, that's not drug-free. It would have been bad if you still had your card for medical use, but you don't. And you're not getting it through a medical dispensary. But you can take a camel to water, but you can't make him drink, even though a camel will drink the whole goddamn spring dry. So the horses did it. Yeah, like I said, I can only do what I can do. I try. You know, I tried doing my best when my daughter, you know, coached. I tried doing. It's just like there is no impartiality most of the time when it comes to, like, when I grew up, the coaches who had their kids played, those kids got the best positions. Went to high school, at least in Old Forge. I know in Germany it really wasn't that way because the teachers, you know, I can actually say that they really weren't that biased. They weren't biased at all, really. I'd appreciate it better there than I do here. I mean, here, if the coach, you know, a teacher's kid was, he was a starter, even though the kid couldn't even run 2 miles. I just was like, you know, I don't want nothing to do with it. Because to me, that's not impartial. That's not impartiality and fairness. But those are out. Those, I think, have gone the way of the dodo. Just like comic books for kids have gone pretty much the way to the dodo. I should say affordable comics for kids. I mean, even if you get some of these comics that are in people's quarter bins, a lot of them are 90s issues where they started doing the T for teen stuff, you know. Yeah, anything below, I'd say below 1990, you can probably, you know, 80 to 90% of that stuff still made for kids. So that stuff, you know, but what kid can, you know, buy some of that stuff? Because, I mean, that isn't cheap anymore. Unless you get, you know, I remember when I donated a bunch of Amazing Spider-Man, Peter Parker's, Web Ofs, and Star Wars comics to the Millville School District and the church. It's like they were like, oh, well, it's nothing, it's comic books. I'm like, and then finally somebody realized that down the road, one of the guys realized, well, this book's worth $10. And Joe just gave it to the kid. I'm like, well, I was trying to enforce, I want to, you know, share my love of it. Because let me tell you something. If I didn't have the comic books when I first came back from Germany, I probably would have fell into the wrong crowd because it was all cliques. And I was still my brother was one that I always, like, didn't really want to do with my mom and my dad. I was always one that was, like, you know, I was always the family-oriented one. Because I can remember when we went to see the Follies the first year we were there. My mom, Joe, look at the floor. They're walking around topless. I'm 10. I'm not even 11 yet. And the usher brings my brother a a booster seat so you can see above everybody so you can watch the topless dancers. and I always, it was one of these things where it was always a different set of rules for me than it was my brother. And my brother resents that, and I understand why, but still, my brother got away with a lot of crap. I never did. And especially now my wife's calling. I'll just talk about more of it on my next video. And thank you all.